Hello and welcome to Coffee with a Grad. Hello, who are you and what are you drinking?
Hello, I am David Howard and I'm drinking, sponsored by USW, a very skinny thing. It's just water in a cup, really. I'm just not a coffee drinker. I'm sorry, this ruins your format, but
Okay, so when did you graduate and what course did you do at the University of South Wales?
I graduated with the class of 2018 and I studied BSc Lighting Design and Technology.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us today. Tell us
Sure.
about what you currently do in your life.
So I am a lighting designer. Probably about a third of the time I spend doing that for concerts, about a third of the time for sort of corporate work, and the other third is just anything else, sort of everything else, really. Fun projects and light entertainment.
You work for yourself or you work for a company or how does it work?
Yeah, I am self-employed and I work under David Howard Lighting Design because that's who I am.
And that's what you do.
That's what I do.
Perfect. Well, it seems like an appropriate name, doesn't it?
Took me all of 2 minutes to think about, yeah.
So lighting design specifically. So does that mean that you're doing the design element, or are you also building systems? Are you designing control systems? Are you programming?
It varies a lot from job to job. A job usually starts with someone coming to me saying, hello, we've got this show and we need some kind of lighting scheme. And I will hop on WYSIWYG and start thinking and, make loads of scribbles on. I'm very much sort of a pen and paper guy, and I'll draw things and sketch things, try things out, start to build it in WYSIWYG, and at that point sort of pitch back to that client and say, this is the idea I've come up with, what do you think? And then maybe some tweaks will happen. And then fast forward a few months to site where everything will start to be building, going up in the air. And at that point, we'll start to program and then eventually run the show, which is sort of the general progression of how that goes. So I both design and then go and run things on the day as well, which is nice.
So you come up with designs. Where do you sort of get your inspiration from? If a client approaches you and says, we're doing this event, can you give us some ideas for lighting? Where do you start?
That's quite a hard question, actually. Sometimes there will be an idea in my head of something, that's, this will look good for something. And then the right thing comes along that fits. Quite a lot of the time, though, it really depends on, I start with what that event is and what that is all about. So one of the last things I did was Comic-Con for 2021. And I started to think about that, and they've just changed all their branding. So I took all of their new branding as sort of the starting point, all of the shapes and the colours from that, and started to build around what needs to happen on that stage. Primarily, if you're lighting an event, you're lighting something, and in this case, it's people, it's panels, it's performances. So I sort of start with that and then build outwards to produce a fully formed design which fits what that show's all about. And that sort of is the same for concerts as well. Same sort of thing. I listen to the band's album. I listen to, if I'm lucky enough to get a set list in advance, which never ever happens, I start with what those songs are all about and build from there, really. So it's all about creating sort of a cohesive message in the visuals to what is going on that stage. Sometimes it's not a stage. Sometimes it's installation work, and that's a similar process. It's what is this all about, and let's build out from there.
And when you're thinking of all the gigs that you've done thus far in your career, is there one that stands out as one that you're really particularly proud of, or one that was somewhere where you tried something new and it worked?
That's a really interesting one, actually. I love using sort of alternate technologies. I found for a little while I was getting into a bit of a routine of just plonk moving heads on stage and sort of be done with it, and I really hate sort of that approach. So I started to experiment with different sort of LED, new things that are emerging, like LED neon and fake stuff like that. And the gig that stands out would be, I toured with a Danish metal artist called Merker in 2018, and we built a forest on stage out of these white twigs, and we integrated a completely custom product into those that it was all very techy and clever. It took its data over power, and they looked a bit like vintage tungsten lamps, but they also had an RGB backlight, and they allowed us to do some really creative things that had not really been done before. And I felt really proud of that one because, the feedback was quite good, and seeing the videos on YouTube that popped up later, I was really proud of that show. It was a nice one to do.
Amazing. Okay. And you're saying about a custom built product. Is that something that has the university route helped you in preparation for that side of the industry, or how did university perhaps prepare you for the things that you're faced with in your career?
Yeah, university exposed me to quite a lot of alternate technologies, which was really interesting. Things like Pixel and Pixel products. And the third year module, the group I was in, we built a Pixel product with a sort of custom interface. And that's what really got me thinking, oh, it's not too difficult to do things that are completely bespoke and custom and actually fit, instead of trying to jam something off the shelf. If there's not something on the shelf that works, trying to jam that in can be not as good as building something bespoke to that job, which is what I really enjoy doing.
Okay, so you're quite happy, and you're quite happy to build something from scratch if you've got a creative idea and there's nothing that fits the need. Actually, building something to suit.
It depends on how much. It's not possible all the time, and there's not always budget for that. It's definitely dependent on situation. But when there's time to do that, and quite often I really like finding budget-friendly solutions to quite creative, problems. I did a show where the artist wanted to perform from a model house on stage made of light, and that brief got me thinking for quite a long time. And I found this LED piping, and we made this house that she performed the whole gig in, and she was really happy with. And that, in terms of budget, that was only a few £100s to produce. And getting someone else to make that, or using, I guess, something more bespoke manufactured would have been quite difficult. So making it ourselves was the right solution for that job, and the effect was really good.
So thinking about products and the things that you've built and the components that you use, bit of a weird question here. If money was no object, what one thing to help in your career would you buy today?
That is a very good question. I'm a Camsys programmer. I really have sort of bought into that interface, and I think it's really good for everything I do. So I'd probably say, part of me said to say an NQ500M. They've got a new console out, but I know I'm not very strong. I couldn't carry that around. So just a sort of a small Camsys desk, NQ70. That's what I think would be. If you're buying, I'll happily take.
I personally don't have the money to help, but I'll do a whip around for you.
Oh, cheers.
And is there a piece of advice that you'd give to our current students?
If I could go back to being a student, there is one thing that I would do, and it's approach people with the line, "Hello, I'm a student and I'm looking to learn more about whatever you're interested in." I think there's only a limited amount of time when you are a student that you can use that line. And I think that really did open up doors for me at university. I got to do some awesome work experience placements with other lighting designers, because that's what I was interested in. And I think since graduating, it's harder to approach people with such a strong opening line that is about a genuine education opportunity. So I'd say use that line, look at people doing what you want to do, and use that line as much as you can, because it does open some awesome work experience opportunities.